when it came to childbirth, I did more than enough research to know that the videos scared me to the core. I'm not sure if the fear was because I watched too many episodes of Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice, but what I do know, I was terrified. Maybe it was the actors screaming during labor, or the fear that my spouse might faint in the delivery room, which would then mean I'd be left across the finish line all alone. And did you ever notice on TV when they faint, it's in slow motion, boom. Regardless, the future was inevitable, and the baby would be coming soon. As I laid in a hospital bed, the doctor listed the potential complications that my baby and I might be facing. Now, on Grey's Anatomy, when this happens, the camera usually pans in to capture your emotion. But I wasn't feeling like a close-up at the moment. But I was choosing to make the best of a situation that was entirely out of my control. So I decided to get comfortable living in my new large mansion. I was in a private suite on the north wing, and I was very fortunate to even have a private chef on call. So I picked up the phone to call my chef, and like clockwork, by the third ring, a familiar voice said, "Carl Hospital Cafeteria, what would you like to order tonight?" Yes, this is how I coped with hospital bed rest as a result of being diagnosed with preeclampsia. Now, the turn of events all started at my appointment for a scheduled contraction stress test. A sensor was placed on my belly, and after the nurse looked at the monitor, she said, did you feel that? And I said, yeah, that's the baby. He's turning on his left side. Then she said, well, what's happening now? And I said, well, that's the baby again. Now he's doing a full turn. At which point, she took the sensor off me. She started moving around the room really, really fast. So I started scanning my mind for episodes of Grey's Anatomy that might cover this reaction. Now, a plethora of scenarios raced through my head until she very calmly said to me, no, those are contractions, and you need to be admitted now. I responded, wait, no, I have a meeting this morning. So then she pulls out a wheelchair, and I explained, a wheelchair is not necessary. She gave me the look, and I sat in the wheelchair. Now, as I was being wheeled down the hall, I called my husband, my mom, and I alerted my job that I was gonna need to take a sick day. I instantly regretted in that moment not following that advice to pack your hospital bag sooner rather than later. Now, as soon as I arrived in the hospital room, several staff entered the room. They were explaining the various roles, what was happening to me, and the full medical plan. And I thought, wow, this is just like on TV. But my baby was preparing for his entrance. The only problem, it was too early. Another team member walked in briskly. They pulled out a needle, and as this process was being explained to me, I asked, have we missed that one window of opportunity for the second required shot that helps women at risk of a premature birth? He asked if I was a doctor or had family members in medicine. And I very proudly explained that I saw a similar situation on the crossover episode of Grey's Anatomy and Private Practice. But unlike the character on Private Practice, I was lucky. That window of opportunity was not missed, but I was gonna be in a hospital for a while, a long while. It was mid-May, May 16th to be exact, and the baby was due July 20th. I came to terms with being in a hospital for an extended period. I was dealing with an unknown diagnosis related to my unborn baby's health. I prayed a lot, and I found different ways to cope. I also found peace in this very rare time in my life where I was able to just sit and be still. Then I started reflecting, wondering, worrying. I wondered, why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Perhaps is it because I don't drink the recommended amount of water each day? Or was it that day I had a teaspoon of ice cream and I didn't check to see if it was pasteurized and maybe I have listeria? I also worried about my dissertation because I wasn't finished with it yet, and my advisor kept reminding me that my clock was running out. Then I was aggravated with myself because I kept delaying that iconic photo of my belly in a long flowing dress for a maternity shoot. Now I'd never have it with my hair flying in the air like Beyonce. And what's even worse, my husband is a professional photographer. But I decided that day that I would just stop worrying and make the best of a situation because I had no control over anything. I was in the hospital. I spent my days praying, flipping through magazines, watching soap operas, and talking to family and friends. Several weeks later, I woke up on a beautiful morning to find both my mom and husband in the room with me. My doctor came in and explained that the best course of action would be a scheduled C-section, and we settled on a date. I was able to relax a little because now we had a plan. But that didn't last. Next thing we know, in walks the entire medical staff like it's the grand finale of Grey's Anatomy. We all sat up straight. Then someone said, "It's time." I said, "I don't understand." They said, "Time for you to deliver." My husband said, "Time to deliver what?" We still can't believe he said that because we hadn't ordered a pizza, but this is now our family's joke, and we laugh about it all the time. But seriously, I said to the doctor, "But I'm scheduled for a C-section next week." At this point, the maternal fetal specialist comes in and says, "We can see that the baby is in a little stress, so we feel that it's best to deliver now." Well, the moment was here. And as I was laying on the table, they explained that I would be awake and that my husband would be there to cut the cord. My doctor appeared and I felt relief. And I realized that the baby had a chance of being born with some issues and that moment of truth would be here soon. And then I heard them say, "He's here." But I didn't hear him cry. I was so upset because on TV when they don't cry, they cut to commercial. But in this moment, I just kept saying to myself, "Cry, baby, please cry. Just cry, baby, please cry." And then he cried. And boy, did he cry. And I kept thinking, if he's crying, that means he's breathing. If he's crying, that means his lungs are strong and developed. But I couldn't lift myself up off the table to see. But I did see them hold him up, like that one scene in The Lion King. And then my husband was asked to cut the cord. The anesthesiologist explained to me that they were going to take him to the NICU for all the tests. I tried not to worry, and then my husband ran to me and said, "The baby looks great, but they said I have to go with him now. You did great. I love you." Before they left, the doctor came over. She smiled and said softly, "He looks really good, but we won't know until we run tests. He is breathing on his own, and that is a good sign." They quickly brought the baby up to my face, and she said, "Meet your son." That made my day. Christopher was born weighing only 2 pounds. He seemed to demand attention at the NICU. The nurses said he definitely lets us know what he wants and when he wants it. His biggest challenge was learning to eat and gain weight. And after a 62-day stay in the neonatal intensive care unit, Christopher was released from his first home, the Carl NICU, and he went home on August 7th. He had no health concerns other than low birth weight. Well, after going home with our sweet baby, I reflected on all that I learned. I learned to release the worry, find silver linings, laugh with family and friends. I also learned how incredibly thankful I was for the care and support we received from our medical team members. They left a lasting impression on me. They were there with me during my most vulnerable moments. And years later, what all of this taught me was to let go of being so risk-averse. I decided to leave behind my safe and structured career in education technology, and I opened a bakery. During the pandemic, and with that new business, I now had the perfect opportunity to just say thank you. One day, as I was mapping out deliveries, I decided to do a surprise cake drop. I delivered enough cake for all the NICU staff. I also delivered cake to the Carl Auxiliary House. That's a guest house that provides a home away from home for families of intensive care patients. Through it all, I was at peace. I delivered, and I brought the joy.